think it's safe to say this security guard didn't win this confrontation because he has some elite marksmanship ability. I mean, how hard is it to hit somebody with at least some of the rounds that you're firing when your muzzle blast is nearly touching the guy? Although I will admit that this could have been done with a little bit more precision, because if we're not hitting the suspect with the rounds that we are firing, those rounds are going somewhere, and that somewhere could be an innocent person. What won this confrontation was situational awareness and identifying anomalies. Anomalies being things that are out of place or things that are above the baseline. You might watch this video and think, well, security was alerted that there was a fight going on, and that's why this security guard started to prepare himself. That's not actually the case. In fact, what happened first was the manager or the owner of the establishment got a hold of the security team and said, hey, these guys look like trouble. Why did he do that? Because they are anomalies above the baseline on which they are used to observing. Why do these two individuals stand out amongst everybody else? Well, they have their hoods up over their head, they have masks covering their face, one of them even has gloves on, and that same individual looks to me like he's actually gripping a handgun that is inside of his waistline, which this is the individual who pulled a handgun from his waistline and started shooting. And this other individual has a backpack faced in front of him, which isn't where you normally carry a backpack. It is where you carry a backpack if you potentially have a firearm inside that backpack and you're trying to use it. These two suspects apparently don't like the fact that the security guard got in the middle of that brawl. They have some verbal altercation, and then one of the suspects pulls out a handgun, and the security guard attempts to gain control of that handgun. He is not successful at doing that, and this suspect opens up on this security guard. One security guard was hit 7 times, and the other one was hit once in the hand, and they both survived. The security guard's able to get to his trunk, pull out his SBR with an LPVO that he keeps in his trunk just in case, and begins firing on the suspect when he has the opportunity. It appears the security guard fired 7 to 8 rounds, and I think that that first round probably hit the suspect in the lower right pelvic girdle area. You can see where the muzzle blast actually raised the lower right shirt of the suspect on his back area, and the suspect immediately collapses. That suspect went from standing to on the ground in probably 0.25 to 0.35 seconds, or maybe even sooner. And you have to remember that that's about the time it takes you to see something, make a decision, and react to that decision. If you're pulling the trigger as fast as you can, there's a good chance, if we're getting good hits, or even if we're not, they're just reacting to gunfire, that you may be shooting where the suspect was and not where he is. This other security guard establishes a position of domination pretty quickly. He actually backs himself into a corner, which I think is a good idea because it allows him to focus his attention only on specific areas. What I don't like, and I don't think is a good idea, is the fact that he's flagging every single person that's coming down the sidewalk. Obviously, that's something that you want to avoid. Staying in the stool position or the low ready is acceptable. What this security guard officer also does that I like is as soon as he sees the police officer, he immediately holsters his weapon. I don't really advise that you continuously point a rifle at somebody, whether you're security or not, if you have other options available to you. Once the bad guy goes down and you feel like the scene is pretty secure, at least transitioning to a handgun at the low ready is way better than a rifle. If we hear rifle rounds being fired and we come around the corner and we see somebody with a rifle and people scattering, that could be a bad day for you. Obviously, I don't know what's being said here because there isn't any audio, but one of the things you want to tell us as soon as we get there is that there is a gun and where the gun is. At one point, you see one of the, friends of the suspect actually reach down and grab the gun, and maybe he takes the magazine out and he tosses it in the grass. But yes, we need to know who's hurt, but we also need to make the scene safe and secure, and we can only do that if we secure the weapons that were being used in the altercation. I can tell by the lack of facial expressions on the suspect's face that he died pretty quickly, and here's the thing about being a bad guy. Being a bad guy is a dangerous job, and I can also tell you that they enjoy doing what they do, and they have a lot of fun doing it. When they have the upper hand and they're jumping over counters and they're pointing their guns at people and they're taking all of their money, they're having a really great time. I can also tell you from experience that when they're laying on the ground and they don't have the upper hand, they're no longer having fun anymore. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you're feeding the algorithm down below and subscribe to the channel if you're not already.